Continuing on tearing down our engine, we're going to be removing our muffler. Let me show you how an easy way to do that. Sometimes they get stuck, and using a strap wrench makes it a piece of cake. If you're not familiar with these, this is a strap wrench. And a lot of times, for example, when we put our flywheel back on, we're going to have to hold that in place so that we can get the proper torque spec on the nut. It's great for removing cylindrical objects. For example, this muffler. Just put it around it, and then that's all there is to it. In the past, I've had some of these slip because I've got some of these are a rubber strap, but if you just take an inner tube and wrap it around the inside and then around your object, it'll keep the strap from slipping also. By the way, I got this from OTC and it was number 7206. Using a 1/4 inch nut driver, I'm going to remove the pipe that comes off of the carburetor. There's 2 1/4 inch bolts holding that on. The head of the engine is held on by 8 1/2 inch bolts, and when I take them off, just so that I don't distort the head, I always do a alternating removal. And I just take one, I loosen off, and then I go to the next one, and then I start removing it. I don't take one out all the way. Let me show you what I mean. And I go diagonally, like so. And then since they're all broken, I then use my ratchet. In this particular case, it doesn't matter. All these bolts are going to be the same length. But if they were different lengths, I would maybe mark them some way or put them on a cardboard template that looks identical to this so that I knew which hole which bolt came out of. But like I said, these are all the same length. That would be a good way to lay out your bolts if you wanted to keep track of which hole what came out of. With the head bolts removed, there's a gasket that's tightly sealed on this. If you just give the head a tap with a rubber hammer, it should come off. Next, we're going to be removing the flywheel nut, and it's 15/16. Just like that. When I remove this cover that has the valve springs behind it, this plate right here is also going to come off. It's just 2 1/4 inch bolts. Very simply do that. And as you can see, we got the valve springs behind it. The removal of the flywheel is a little bit tricky because the 2 holes that are in the flywheel aren't tapped. And if you're to use the Briggs & Stratton flywheel puller, this replaces the Briggs & Stratton 19069. This is the Sten's 75015. And interestingly enough, it comes with the 2 bolts that are tapped at the very end so that it'll go into the aluminum flywheel and put a thread in it for you. I haven't had much luck with this, and I haven't had much luck with an inexpensive tap either. So let me show you how I do it. I am against this method you see a lot on the internet, where they'll take a pry bar, jam it in there, and once the bolt is removed, they'll put it just a couple of threads down and hit the top of the crankshaft. Okay? that'll pop the flywheel off. The problem with that is it's rather dangerous. You can break your crankcase doing it. You can damage the threads on your crankshaft. But more importantly, what they don't know is that you could put hairline fractures in this flywheel, and at a later date, it's spinning at high revolutions per minute, it could fly apart and become shrapnel and harm somebody, and they're not even aware of it down the road. All that being said, the way that I do it is I spray WD-40 all over it to break up the rust on the bolts. And you have to do this a lot, not just for an engine teardown, but if they hit something with a mower and it shifts the flywheel, it's going to shear this key that was designed to break. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay? And then what I like to do is take an air chisel. I'll put it right in the center of that crankshaft, and then I'll exert some pressure. And I'm not trying to break anything, I'm just, all this vibration is going to pop it up. And you'll see in a minute. There you go. Just like that. I find that the least obtrusive. And when you pull off your flywheel, save your key. All right, that'll be enough for this episode, and then we'll go on further. If you would, I'll catch you on the next one. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this, and share it with people if you would. Let's get those numbers going to the million. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.